Standard test procedure or method of analysis is one of the key documents as far as the implementation of method is concerned. So it can be about the HPLC method, gas chromatography method, or any another method, but one has to have a standard test procedure in place to implement the method as expected. And we prepare the method of analysis as per our in-house practices. And very often I have seen there are various ways the people follows during preparation of this one key important document. As there is no as such guideline available, the people has to follow their own internal SOPs on preparation of the method of analysis or the standard test procedure. So what is my takeaways onto preparation of STPs or MOAs? I have seen some documents are very detail oriented and some with lack of very key information. And in this video, I am going to walk you through what are the key important points that must be part of your method of analysis. I have seen people including the details like the chemicals and the reagent used. And not only that, they also include the details of the grades, the manufacturer or the make of that chemicals. And I think it is very important when it comes to a sensitive analysis like HPLC or UPLC to provide the details of the grade or even the manufacturer. Because there may be a situation where the make of the chemicals may make the difference. And to avoid the surprises during the analysis, it is important to mention about those details into the standard test procedures or STPs. So the details of the chemicals and the reagents, the details of the glassware used. If there is a necessity to mention about the specific grade of the glassware, it is good to have into the STPs. If you want to use the amber colored glassware, it is good to mention those details into the STPs. If you want to avoid the usage of class B glassware, or let us say the specific grade of the pipette must be used, I think those details must be part of your standard test procedure. Then the instrument and the equipment which needs to be used to perform the analysis. What should be the characterization of the instrument or the specification of the instrument that can be used? That can be in terms of its usage range, in terms of, for example, the balance, because most of the times balance may have its own usage range. Some balances can be used from 1 milligram to, let us say, 2 gram, or from 10 milligram to, let us say, 200 gram. So which balance is more suitable for this particular analysis? And you may say that we have internal SOPs where it is already defined the range of the balance usage. But how you are going to make sure that the analyst is going to follow this specific balance during the weighing? So it's also important to mention those details into the STPs so that the analyst has get a clear guidance on usage of the balance. Then the usage of the pH meter, usage of the centrifugation machine, usage of the another instruments and equipments which are part of your analysis. I think those guidance are further going to help you to avoid the non-conformities during the analysis. Then comes the part where you have to prepare the analytical solutions. So rather than saying that prepare, let us say 1% of the citric acid solution, for an example, I prefer to give a detailed procedure on how to prepare 1% citric acid solution. For example, weigh and dilute 1 gram of citric acid into a water. I think this statement provides a much better clarity rather than just saying prepare 1% citric acid solution. Because considering that yes, the analyst will know how to prepare 1% solution, rather than giving upfront information on how to prepare 1% citric acid solution. I think this way the further non-conformities can be avoided, and it can be for anything, for preparation of standard and sample. Now, very often in case of finished products like tablets, capsules, we give equivalent weight of the active substances. For example, weigh a sample quantity equivalent to 100 milligram of, for example, paracetamol, if you are analyzing a paracetamol tablet. But this 100 milligram of the paracetamol means how many milligram of the paracetamol tablet. And for that, analyst has to understand the average weight of the tablet. So if you provide the information about how to calculate the 100 milligram of the equivalent paracetamol present into a tablet powder, I think that information is further going to help analysts to weigh a suitable quantity of the sample. So then comes understanding how to evaluate the system suitability in case of HPLC analysis. So it is very important to give a clear information about the number of injection and the sequence overall. If you just give a inject standard sample and evaluate the system suitability, analyst doesn't know how many replicate injection of the standard needs to be made and how those replicate injections to be made. So rather than just giving a statement, if one can provide the proper sequence of injection or proper sequence of observation, I think this information is very important as far as the execution is concerned. How many blank has to be injected? For example, one number of blank needs to be injected at the beginning of the sequence. Then let us say the 6th number of standards, and in case if there is a system suit solution needs to be injected, now where it has to be injected, after blank or after 6 replicate of the standard. So those specific details can be provided into a sequence to avoid the non-conformities during the analysis. Then followed by how many standard injection needs to be injected. Then the sample injections, how many sample injections needs to be injected. Sometimes I have seen STPs with the duplicate injections of the sample. So please provide those details into the sequence so that the analyst will get a clear guidance onto the preparation of the sequence, and then followed by the bracketing standard requirement. So after how many injections of the test sample, a bracketing standard must be injected. So those details is also going to help analysts during preparation of sequence for the multiple number of sample solutions. Now, though it looks to be very simple, but it gives a clear guidance and understanding to the entire team that what is our internal procedure on preparation of sequence. So once this sequence is made, probably the analysis will start. So at the end of analysis, what is expected to be checked during the analysis? Now those details are pertaining to the understanding the suitability of the system for the intended analysis. So what should be the percent RSD? What should be the tailing factor? How many should be the number of plates? So those details needs to be part of your standard test procedure. Rather than just giving a statement that system must be suitable as per the SOP number so and so, it is a good idea to mention the details about the system suitability requirements into the STP itself. For example, the percent RSD should not be more than 2.0%, the number of theoretical plates should not be less than 2000, or the tailing of the principal peak should be less than 1.5. Now, given this information, analysts can easily compare and understand whether my system is suitable, or do I need to investigate, do I need to discontinue, and then understand where the things are going wrong. And then followed by your calculation part. So the calculation is a very important step into concluding whether the sample is meeting the specification or sample is not meeting the specification. So please provide the in detail calculation, not only the concentration of standard divided by concentration of sample, but rather please give in detail calculation formulas that the weight of, let us say, standard in milligram, then divided by its dilution volume, then the pipetted volume divided by again diluted volume, then the sample volume in milligram divided by, let us say, diluted volume. And similarly, you can understand how the calculation formula can be built. The in detail calculation with respect to the dilution steps is going to further help analysts understanding what is the logic behind these calculation steps. And don't forget to mention about the average weight or label claim in case of if you are using a crust method, a crust powder method. And what is the potency of the working standard? Then what is the factor if in case if you want to convert the salt from the base? So all these details into the STPs is further going to help analysts to confidently calculate the result and provide the values. Now when it comes to chromatographic analysis and very specifically to the related substances, I have seen method of analysis where the limit for disregard peak is provided. But how one can understand and identify whether this peak is below disregard limit and this peak is above disregard limit, and hence I have to quantify it. I have to capture those peaks. I have to integrate those peaks. So for example, disregard the peak below 0.05%. But how one can identify the peak below 0.05%? And for example, if I identify there are 3 peaks which are below 0.05%, and if I disregard those peaks, now how the reviewer is going to confirm whether I have disregarded the right peak? So for that reason, the standard test procedure can further provide the guidance onto how one can proceed on disregarding the peaks. I am with the opinion that no peak should be disregarded even though there is a limit provided for the disregard. You can integrate all the peaks belongs to blanks, placebos, below disregard areas, and then nominate them, mention their names that this peak is belong to placebo, now this peak is belongs to below disregard limit. And when it comes to calculation, then the analyst must not take those peaks, like the peaks belongs to blanks, the peaks belongs to placebos, or the peaks which are below disregard limit must not be taken during calculation. I think this way the reviewer or anyone by looking at the chromatogram can get an idea on when and why these peaks are disregarded. By just simply disregarding the peaks because of blank, placebo, and the peaks below 0.05%, this creates an ambiguity to the reviewer or any another person that why these peaks are disregarded. Then comes to the chromatographic pattern in case of HPLC method or the gas chromatography method. So it's a good idea to also provide the representative chromatograms of the blank, placebo, standard sample, resolution solution. So provide the chromatograms, provide the spectra and another details into the standard test procedure. So I think these are the important steps one has to consider during preparation of STPs. And if you have any more steps, please do comment into a chat box. And also important to provide the guidance onto the different standard operating procedures in the method of analysis. For example, now there is a need of giving a reference for the SOP because you may not be able to provide all the details into the standard test procedure. So please provide the details of the SOPs. For more details, follow SOP number XYZ. So the analyst can go there, visit the SOP, and then further understand what is the correct way of performing this step. It can be about the cleaning of your washing out of the HPLC column at the end of analysis. It can be about the preparation of any analytical solutions. So you can mention the SOP reference so that the analyst can refer those SOPs and then perform the steps which is required to be performed. and then the STP numbers, the supersede number, and the change history must be part of your STP document. Provide the details of the market, for which market this STP needs to be followed. Provide the details of the specification, which specification belongs to this STP, and vice versa. You need to also provide the detail of the STP to be followed into the specification document. You need to also provide the details of the specification into the STP document so that one can connect the dots. Now, which specification I need to follow for this particular method of analysis? Now, what is the geographical presence of this STP, or for what market this STP is prepared and needs to be followed? For example, it's for US market. Now, this STP is for Europe market. This STP is for TJ market. Because we may be having the same product going to different geographies, going to US market, European countries, the Australian market. So you may have a different STPs in place. So to avoid the confusion, which STP needs to be followed now, you can mention the details of the market into the header of the STP, that yes, this STP is made for US market, or this STP needs to be followed in case of European market sample. So I think this information is further help guide analysts on choosing the right standard test procedure during the analysis. So what are the another details you want to include into the standard test procedure? Please do comment in the chat box below the video, because this is further going to help the reviewers and viewers of this video on what are the another important points, precautions one has to take during preparation of standard test procedure. So thank you very much for watching this video till the end, and I will meet you soon with another interesting video. Till then, bye bye and take care. Meet you soon.